Can y'all hear me? All right, welcome. My name is Don Griffin. I am your deputy mayor for the city of Bloomington. And also a co-founder of the Black Democratic Caucus for Monroe County. And I welcome you, we welcome you. This is exciting times, and we've got a lot of talented people who want to serve and will do excellent jobs no matter who we pick. So, which is kind of nice, right? So let's give everyone a hand that's participating in this. And the next thing I'm going to do is would you like to speak? Let me call up my co-founder.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming tonight. My name is Nicole Bolden. I'm the co-founder and president of the Monroe County Black Democratic Caucus. Thank you. So tonight we have 3 races that we'll be hearing from. We're going to hear from our county recorder candidates first. Then we will hear from our judicial candidates. And last, we will hear from our sheriff candidates. So we have a night ahead of us. We're going to jump right up to it. If we could have our first candidates up to the podium, I'd appreciate it. Our moderators this evening are Councilmember Jim Sims. Yay. And Maquiba Reese, who is the Assistant Director of Diversity Initiatives for the IU Kelley School of Business. Thank you both for being here this evening. A brief note about the order of business tonight. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to make an opening statement. After their opening statement, we have questions that were provided to them. Most questions were provided to most candidates. So they have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 2 minutes to respond to each question, and they will be allowed a 1-minute closing statement. When you have 30 seconds left on your question, I will hold up a yellow card. When you are out of time, I will hold up a red card. At that time, stop talking for all of our candidates. If you do not stop talking, I will turn off your microphone. And I could possibly break the system because I'm not very good at using it. So let's avoid that. After that, thank you all for coming. We greatly appreciate it. We are also live streaming via CATS, so thank you to CATS. And also thank you to the Monroe County Democratic Party for also streaming this on their Facebook page. Okay? And with that, I will hand it over to our very capable moderators, Mr. Sims and Ms. Maquiba. Let's go for it.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And she's not joking about shutting off the mic if you get long-winded. So one of the things that we found in other forum formats is that we always start with the one person. So they're always first, and whoever's last is always last. So I know it's a minor detail, but we're going to try to flip it every time so that everyone has a chance to go first, and then we can get a true understanding of what everyone's saying. So, and thank all the candidates for being here this evening. So I guess I get the honor of starting. Okay. I think what we'll do now, I think is you get your 2 minutes to do your introductions. So she's ready if you're ready.
Who's going first?
Yes, I'm sorry. We'll start with Ms. Craner. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. It's really nice to see all of you. It's been a long time, hasn't it, that we've been able to gather together. My name is Ashley Craner, and I am a progressive Democrat woman. Pro-choice, absolutely, and I'm a candidate that is running for your next Monroe County recorder. I've been your chief deputy recorder for the last 7 years. I have had the pleasure throughout my county career to work for the Commissioner's Office as their grants administrator and also for the Monroe County Health Department. And I currently serve on the Monroe County Health Board and have so for the last 12 years. Here's an overview of my goals that I want to accomplish as your next recorder. I'm going to increase public engagement with our community. I would argue, and I'm sure most of you would, that most people really don't know at the heart what the recorder does. Yes, we are statutorily, our main role is to record and to preserve and protect in perpetuity land documents that are related to ownership and transfers. We also deal with our veterans' release records, but we try and hook them up with our Veterans Affairs as often as we can. But that's just the minimum of what we do and what we can do. I also want to increase a recorder's office that's not only going to preserve and protect all of your local history, but also be a part of recognizing certain aspects of our history and doing that through inclusion and engagement. I'm going to utilize my 20-plus years as a public servant in this community to increase access and transparency to all of your public records. Two primary goals: I'm going to centralize those public records. I'm going to bring all units of government together so that we can create a centralized space for preserving those records. I am going to commit to listening to the voices of our marginalized groups. I'm going to end there because I don't want to get in trouble. Thank you, Nicole.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to thank the caucuses for providing this opportunity for candidates. I'm Amy Swain, and I'm running for Monroe County Reporter. I grew up in Indiana. My mom was a poll worker and helped with absentee ballots. My dad ran for city council, unsuccessfully though, and I was involved with the YMCA Youth in Government program, where I actually served as the parliamentarian of the House in a mock legislature when I was in high school. So public service has always been important to me. I moved to Monroe County to attend Indiana University, where I received a degree in business. I'm one of the lucky ones that got a job using my degree here, and I married someone who lived locally. We'll be celebrating 32 years next week. As a student, I thoroughly enjoyed my new community and the wide range of people I encountered that were different from me. I learned about things I had never experienced growing up in small-town Indiana. The things I learned outside of the classroom were just as important as the things I learned in class. And I still have learning to do. It's something I embrace. I've worked in the public sector, the private sector, and for nonprofits, so I have a wide variety of experience to draw on. I'm adept at building good working relationships with key stakeholders, both internal and external. I served as the local president, state president, and regional vice president of the Exchange Club, which helps youth and homeless veterans and works to help prevent child abuse. I helped reestablish the Gray Center food pantry that serves our Southern District. Giving back to the community is something that's important to me. It's one of the reasons I'm running. Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if it's proper. Everyone give them a hand. Yeah. Thank you for your time. I know there's probably rules, but we're just going to have fun this evening. So we are going to start, and I get the honor of asking the first question, and we're going to start with candidate Crainer. And then after your time is up, and then candidate Swain will have the answer before we go to the next question. And the first question is, if elected, what are some changes that you would immediately implement in the office of the recorder?
Thank you, Jim. So immediately, if I'm elected, there's several things that I want to do because I've already been working on them, and it would be a great opportunity to kickstart some of those. And one of them is to create a webpage on the county website that is inclusive of all departments with all of their databases with brief descriptions on it. So when you come to the recorder's office, most people usually have to go to either planning, assessor, auditor, legal. They have to go to a multitude array of different departments. And at this point in time, the county just has individual websites rather than a one-stop kind of shop for where you can find all of your data. So if you're off to get a building permit, you can hit a couple different offices via online before you have to physically come in and move between showers and the courthouse. And then secondly is I really want to increase public engagement. Over the past 7 years, I've worked pretty extensively in the back research area, talking to our title searchers. One of the things I've learned is that The title searchers are really well adapted to utilizing the recorder's office, but our law offices and our and our real estate agents, a lot of real estate agents, utilize our office, but I don't think they understand what we have available. And so what I want to do is create roundtables and training seminars for our real estate agents and other entities in order to do a little give and take and find out what it is they need and see if I already offer that. And if I don't, then I'll work towards accomplishing those goals for them. And then again, we are, which I'll have a chance to talk about, are the racial restrictions project that I've been working on over the course of the last 2 years. And again, there'll be a lot of engagement and public outreach and talking to those that have been the most impacted by this racially restrictive language that are in our deeds.
Okay. I don't plan to make big sweeping changes. Eric has done a good job the last 7 years, and I want to continue working on any initiatives that he's started. I'd like to see the work on the Fielder Archive Center completed and make it accessible to the public. It's hard to project what might be an immediate concern 8 months from now, but there are some things I'd like to address. Some of the documents that need to be recorded need to be notarized first. I'd like to see some of us in the recorder's office become notaries to save a trip upstairs and then back downstairs again. There are often many transactions a day that require a notary's signature, and this could easily be accommodated in the recorder's office. Where I work now, we use a messaging solution that allows us to communicate with our customers through text, including taking payments securely. Many people use texting as their primary or preferred method of communication, and I'd like to accommodate that preference if possible. We couldn't send the legal documents that way, but it might aid communications in other ways. Currently, DocsPop is a website that the public can access documents and pay securely, so there is that option. Right now, the recorder's office is unable to accept credit card payments because of the State Board of Accounts. Depending on when and how this is resolved, this messaging solution might be a good alternative. However, if it turns out the benefits are too limited or don't justify the expense, then we wouldn't move forward with it. I've been responsible for bringing money in for more than one nonprofit, so my mindset is always to make sure the change is intentional and not change for the sake of change, and that any expense is justified by the benefits it provides. So, like I said, there are some things that need looking into, but I'm good with what Eric has done the past 7 years, and I just want to continue that. Thank you.
Our next question goes first to candidate Swain. Why are you running for this position?
Thank you. So the Office of Recorder is term limited, and the incumbent, Eric Schmitz, can't run for re-election to a third term. My experience and skill set are well suited to be your next Monroe County Recorder. The Recorder's Office preserves our local history through the legal recording of documents dealing with property, the bonds of our township officials, powers of attorney, firms doing business under another name, and military discharges for our servicemen and women, among others. It also helps the public find documents, indexes records for easier retrieval, collects payments, invoices, and collaborates with other Monroe County departments, such as the Assessor's Office and the Auditor's Office, on a regular basis. The Recorder also works with the County Clerk concerning the Local Records Commission. I have a degree in business from Indiana University and have worked with the types of businesses that interface with the Recorder's Office, such as banks, credit unions, mortgage companies, title companies, etc. At the YMCA, I led up to 50 people that provided direct service to the public and handled invoicing and collecting payments. I've done payroll, balanced budgets, hired and trained staff, and worked with other departments to provide services and plan for the future. In my current position, I serve as the liaison to the Indiana Chamber of Commerce, the Better Business Bureau, and a number of outside vendors. As records archivist for the City of Bloomington, I assembled original public record documents with all addenda. I created and maintained a database of digitized original records to allow public access and to preserve the historical information. I'm comfortable with technology. This has become increasingly important as more and more people are doing business online. I'm more than qualified to be your next Monroe County Recorder. Thank you.
Candidate Crainer, same question. Why are you running for this position?
Thank you. I'm running for Monroe County Recorder because experience really does matter. This is an administrative office. Eric and I have established relationships, policies, procedures, protocols with these various offices for the last 7 years. Eric is the recorder, but I am his, as he likes to call me, his first mate. And I do a lot in this office. And one of the things that profoundly became so important was during COVID. So when we talk about experience matters and keeping the administration and keeping the deeds and keeping the businesses alive and moving when the whole entire county and state shuts down, you're going to need somebody in there that knows how to deal with our emergency protocols, that's there the day after everybody is sent home in order to process those deeds for the families that are counting on it, and the law offices and the title companies and the banks. Everybody was waiting on the recorder's office. It came down to us, and that wouldn't have been accomplished. It would have been a nightmare, frankly, if we had been brand new when this came on. So I was really, really thankful that we had 6 years, 5-6 years in the recorder's office to do those things. And the other part of it is that, educating the public is super important about what the recorder's office can and can't do. The recorder's office can't notarize documents. I mean, we can't notarize documents that we're legally recording. And the other part of it is that I want to make a really quick point here. The Jim Fielder's archives are totally available to the public. All you got to do is make an appointment and come on in. Now, I definitely want to evolve it so that it's open door, but that's going to take years.
Okay, just looking around, make sure we don't step on anyone's toes. Thank you, both candidates, for your answer. Our next question, and we'll start with candidate Crainer first, please. And the question is, if elected, what will you do to improve the quality of life for Black and brown residents?
Jim, I think that's such an important question for every candidate to be considering in our community. And my time serving on the Board of Health during the pandemic has taught that whether we realize it or not, our race impacts all of our lives. And it impacts certain lives harder than others. And that's the privilege of being white that we just don't even have to think about. We had to think about it. The health department created a working group of people from marginalized communities, and their input was absolutely invaluable, and it most likely saved lives. And I'm proud to work and represent the health department and the work that folks like Makwibi did on that particular committee. As a health board member, I really pushed to have those goals and measurable impacts of inclusion of marginalized groups put in our strategic plan. And I'm super, super proud that that came to fruition. As a health board member, I am a health board member if I didn't mention that to anybody. One of the things that I think is super important also is that if you step inside our county courthouse, it's a really white space. There are actionable things that we can do, such as, if you're running a department, you can examine our hiring practices, try to recruit in more equitable ways, and ensure that you're actively creating a welcoming environment for everyone. You just got to get out there and try and go to places that are kind of unusual, not just the HT and the Monroe County Bulletin. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Crainer. Candidate Swain, same question. If elected, what will you do to improve the quality of life for Black and brown residents?
The recorder doesn't set policy or pass legislation that helps a large group of people. It helps a large group of people, one person at a time. I would work to ensure that every person who does business with the office feels welcomed and is given assistance in a professional, friendly, and thorough manner. For example, I want every home buyer, especially a first-time home buyer, to have confidence that when they close on a new home, there won't be any legal discrepancies or disputes, and they can have that same confidence when they sell it. I've worked alongside and served a diverse group of people from all over the world, from different types of backgrounds, with different cultural observances, different religious beliefs, and even different native languages. I respect them all, and I hope I earned their respect. I have trusted friends that I can reach out to when I have questions. I've taken training on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I would recommend it. I welcome any person or group to address with me any issue that they have with the office. It's up to us to work together to help effect the change we want to see happen. Some people think that because we've had a black president and our current vice president is both of African American and Asian American descent, that we've arrived. I remember one person said, "We've had a lot of firsts," and that's true here in Monroe County as well. But let's choose not to be satisfied with that. Let's keep moving forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Final question first goes to candidate Swain. Do you believe that Black Lives Matter?
Yes, I do. I acknowledge and respect the fact that Black lives do matter. I think that every Black person deserves the chance to reach their full potential. How Black people are treated by me as an individual, as an elected official, and as a member of this community matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Question goes to candidate Crainer. Same question. Do you believe that Black Lives Matter?
Yes, I unequivocally believe that Black Lives Matter. Absolutely. And when I think about, the Black people that are in my own life, I hear their Black hopes. They tell me about their Black dreams. And I get to see some of their Black people's joy and sorrow and pain and frustration and fear. Saying Black Lives Matter is literally the minimum that we can do. We live in an intentionally segregated society, and if we truly want to end racism, then we have to be intentional about desegregating our society. We have to be willing to move beyond our own personal comfort zones, because lasting change, as we all know, it just doesn't happen while you're comfortable and things are good. Making efforts to building genuine relationships and friendships with people of color and listen to them. I challenge all of you guys to do that. I challenge everyone to do that. Let's just not wait until we have some sort of racial issue to seek out their input. We need to support POCs, people of color, to lead organizations and help them get elected here in Monroe County. And we're working on that collectively, and I'm very proud of that. It's why I'm trying to do my small part to shine a little bit of light on these racially restrictive covenants and this language that is in our deeds and in the plats, so that our community can absolutely recognize the past injustice for our people, and let's build for a better future for them. There's things that we can do legally to change this language so that we don't have to pass that on. Thank you.
Thank you all very, very much. You can give them a round of applause if you like. Thank you for your answers. And since we intend to have a totally transparent space, my moderator, co-host, her first name is pronounced Maquiba, just for future reference. Maquiba. Thank you. Now, to end this segment, the candidates will have 1 minute for their closing statement. And we will start first with candidate Crainer.
Well, I want to thank our monitors, Maquiba. You did some great work on that panel with the community group, with the Monroe County Health Department, and I really appreciate all your work. And Mr. Jim Smith for moderating tonight's forum. Also, Sims, I said Smith, and I'm getting everything wrong. I want to thank the moderators, Maquiba and Jim Sims, for moderating tonight's forum. Also to the Monroe County Black Caucus and the Indiana Latino Democratic Caucus of the 9th District for hosting tonight's event. Lastly, beginning tomorrow and up to May 3rd, you have an opportunity to vote for me, Ashley Craner, from Monroe County Recorder and Precinct Chair for Perry 6 and State Delegate for District 4. I ask for your vote, and I thank you all tonight. I really appreciate everybody being here. It's nice to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Candidate Kramer. Candidate Swain, closing statement. You have 1 minute, please.
Thank you. I'm a results-oriented leader with more than 20 years of experience improving the bottom line and overall organizational performance. I'm a strategic and innovative problem solver who looks for long-term solutions. Voters twice elected me to serve 4-year terms on my township board, which elected me as president. Since that time, I've served as township clerk, so I'm familiar with the State Board of Accounts, which also works with the Recorder's Office. I'm comfortable with technology. I'm the webmaster for my company and could easily update the Recorder's page on the Monroe County website. I would also be able to troubleshoot problems on the spot. Your recorder should be a person who is good with the public and staff, who is highly organized and a hard worker, and one who has proven integrity when dealing with public funds. I won't just say the right things, I'll do the right things. I'm Amy Swain, and I ask for your vote for recorder. Thank you all.
Thank you both very much, candidates. Now we're in the process of switching for our next segment. Please join everyone out here and campaign even further. Thank you very much.
All right, just want to reiterate the candidate rules as we start. So you each have 2 minutes for opening statement and 1.5 seconds, 1.5 to respond. Sorry, excuse me. 1.5 minutes to respond, okay? So make sure you pay attention to Nicole right in the middle, and you will be assisted that way. All right, so opening statement, remember 2 minutes, and then 1.5 minutes to respond. First question goes to, okay, starting with candidate Chopra. Why are you running for this position? And then we'll just go down the road. Sorry, opening statements first, excuse me. Opening statements first. Start with candidate Chopra.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. I'm running for judge because I want to serve my community. I've been serving my community and the state of Indiana for quite a while. Since earning my degree from the Maurer School of Law, I've represented the state of Indiana as a prosecutor in Lawrence County. I quickly became the county's chief deputy prosecuting attorney, which is a position that's appointed by the elected prosecutor. My duties in this role include making charging decisions, overseeing the deputy prosecutors, and being a liaison between our office and the courts. In this time, I've tried cases as the lead attorney or first chair, from theft to domestic battery to child molestation and murder. I've lived in Monroe County for more than 20 years. It's my home, so much so that I was crazy enough to run for city council in 2015. In that election, I defeated the incumbent in the primary by almost 3-1. I've served on the Bloomington Enterprise Association, graduated from the Citizens Academy and Leadership Bloomington Monroe County, and was selected by the Indiana Democratic Party at the state level to participate in its Emerging Leaders program. My husband and I have 2 boys, aged 10 and 11. They attend university school. I'm a homegrown Hoosier. I've been serving Indiana and my community ever since I was 17, when I enlisted in the Indiana Army National Guard. That's why I'm running for judge, to use my legal experience to serve the community I know and I love so well. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Salzman?
I'm Emily Salzman. I'm running for Monroe Circuit Court Judge, and I appreciate you hearing me here tonight. As many of you may know, judicial races are unique in that it's not really about a platform of things you promise to do and issues you promise to tackle. It's about who you are, your experiences, and your temperament that would make you a good judge. Experience can come in varying different ways, and mine is best broken down into 3 different categories. Primarily my judicial experience. I've sat in as judge pro tempore for 4 local courts when their judges are unavailable. I've done this 40 times. Those experiences are actually what motivated me to run for judge. Legal experience is also relevant here. My legal experience is critical. I've been part of the local legal system since 2012, and I've been participating in almost every tier of that system, from legal secretary to legal intern to associate to partner, and now managing partner of my firm. Specifically, being a managing partner has given me invaluable experience in administration, supervising staff, budgeting, and accounting. I handle both civil and criminal cases here in Monroe County. I take a paid, appointment, and pro bono cases, which allows me to have an appreciation for all of the issues that face the diverse citizens of Monroe County. My life experience is important. I began learning Spanish at age 5, and the fluency in Spanish has had an incredible influence on all facets of my life. Me he dado un deseo de usar la lengua española en cada parte de mi vida para ayudar a la gente hispanohablante. All of these experiences have made me who I am, a candidate who has the experience of what it is like to be the decision maker, the knowledge to handle a diverse type of cases, and the skills to make all who come before the court feel heard. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Candidate Wilson?
I have over 11 years of legal experience as a deputy prosecutor, a deputy attorney general, a paralegal, and a legal assistant. I'm also the mother of a 20 and a 16-year-old raised in Monroe County. I have civil and criminal litigation experience.
Excuse me, could you make sure your mic is on? Let's try you now.
Can you hear me?
Perfect, thank you.
Could I start again?
Yes,
Thank you. Good evening. Can you hear me now?
yes.
Well, that's now nice to meet you. Good evening. My name is April Wilson, and I'm running for Monroe County Circuit Court Judge, Seat 7. I have over 11 years of legal experience as a deputy prosecutor, a deputy attorney general, a paralegal, and a legal assistant. I'm also the mother of a 20 and a 16-year-old raised in Monroe County. I have civil and criminal litigation experience, civil and criminal jury trial experience, and I've practiced in state and federal court throughout the state of Indiana. Additionally, as a prior domestic violence prosecutor and current felony deputy serving on the child protection team, I've worked with community partners in challenging areas involving families and children. In addition to my professional experience, I bring significant lived experience. I've been a 19-year-old single mother. I've been the partner of a service member during deployments. And the year I started law school is the year my oldest child started kindergarten. Over the years, there have been challenges that have taught me the values of compassion and community, and I'm a product of communities that have cared. As someone who works in the system every day and who's managed personally the challenges of childcare and transportation with limited resources, who's had more than one second job along the way and knows that every hour of work missed has an impact, I hope to reduce the number of pretrial conferences, ensure that hearings start on time, and to increase the use of Zoom to lower the barriers to participation and reduce the impact of contact with the justice system. And that's because I'm running for judge, because I'm committed to improving the justice system for everyone. I'm a mother, I'm a litigator, I'm a public servant, and I ask for your vote on May 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Renbeck.
Yep. Thank you. Good evening to everyone in attendance here tonight and watching online, elected officials, and also all my fellow candidates. I have to start by thanking the Monroe County Black Democratic Caucus for hosting this event, and also the Indiana Latino Democratic Caucus for the 9th District. I know event planning takes a lot of time and effort, and I'm really grateful for all the time you put in setting this up. I also want to thank Ms. Reese and Mr. Sims for moderating. Thank you. My name is Karen Renbeck. I'm running for judge for Seat 7. My Monroe County story starts in 2009. I moved to Bloomington for law school at IU. I'd only visited once before, but I immediately fell in love with the town, the college, and especially the rolling hills down here in southern Indiana. I met my husband, Chris, actually my very first week of law school, and we got married in 2018 here at the Indiana Memorial Union. We've lived all over town, Bryan Park, East Side, West Side, near West Side, but we finally bought a house recently on the South Side here in town. I'm the first person on either side of my family to ever run for anything, so this is a really big deal for me, so thank you all. For the past 8 years, I've served our community as a deputy public defender here in Monroe County. I'll be talking more about that tonight, so for the opening statement, I was hoping to just talk about a few things you may not already know about me. I'm currently serving in my second year as the president of the Monroe County Bar Association. I've also served on Monroe County's mental health court previously. I administer the Public Defender's Office internship program. We've had over 45 interns since 2017. And I also formed a partnership between my office and the IU School of Social Work. So we host social work interns who help us assist our clients. I'm honored to be endorsed by both the Monroe County Young Dems and the Stonewall Democrats of South Central Indiana. I'm also supported by the Democratic Women's Caucus, and I'm really looking forward to talking with you all tonight, more about myself, my background, and my campaign. So thank you all again for watching and attending.
Thank you. Now we get to go to the first question. I was so excited earlier. All right, so we'll start with candidate Salzman. Why are you running for this position?
I'm running because of my experiences as Judge Pro Tempore, as I said. So I'll refer to it as Judge Pro Tem. Some of you might be wondering what that means. What does a Judge Pro Tem do, and what kind of hearings do they really see? In my experience sitting as Judge Pro Tem, because I've done it so much, I've had the ability to accept or reject both misdemeanor and felony changes of plea and sentencings, find probable cause and set bail for countless cases, engage in pretrial release decisions where we balance the equities of releasing someone because they might lose their job or their housing, and making that decision within the request of the public defender's office and the prosecutor's office, and also modifying no contact orders, in which hearings in which maybe 3 different positions were voiced between the prosecutor, the victim, and the defense. These experiences are what prompted me to run for judge, because I learned something important that I wouldn't otherwise have known necessarily. In law school for 3 years, we're taught to advocate and fight for our position. But it's different to be the decision maker, to hear all sides fully and make a fair and just decision. As an attorney, I help my client and I serve them while advocating for them. But as a judge, I found that I helped all those involved by reaching a fair and just decision and making sure that they felt heard in the courtroom. This allowed me to serve a wider part of the community. I know I can do this and do this well because I have sat in that chair and I have made those decisions, and I hope to continue doing so as your next circuit court judge.
Thank you. Candidate Wilson, same question. Why are you running for this position?
Because I want the system to be better. And even if elected, I would give the same answer in 6 years. I think if you work in the justice system, you have to strive every day to be better than you were the day before. And that's because no matter what your role may be, whether it may be a public defender, a private defense attorney, or prosecutors, or judge, we make decisions that impact people's lives. And we need judges with the professional and personal experience to make those difficult decisions. I bring that experience to this race, and I'm ready to serve as the next Monroe County Circuit Court judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, candidate Renbeck. Excuse me, sorry.
That's okay, Renbeck.
Renbeck.
Thanks.
Candidate Renbeck.
Uh-huh.
Same question. Why are you running for this position?
Yes. I'm a public defender, and we need more public defenders on the bench. Being a public defender means I don't choose my clients or their cases. They're assigned to me, and they're assigned because they can't afford to hire a private attorney. I love charts and data and statistics, so I would like to share one quick statistic with you all. In 2021, 70% of all criminal cases filed in Monroe County were assigned an attorney from the Monroe County Public Defender's Office. This is a pretty staggering number, but when you think about it, that staggering number isn't really very well reflected in our current judiciary. I have years of experience working with my clients who are struggling with mental illness and substance use disorder, housing instability, and poverty. I've handled all types of criminal cases and almost all types of civil cases. we're all running for the seat that's currently held by Judge Steve Galvin. He's retiring, and I'm experienced to immediately handle his caseload if that's what I'm assigned. I practice in his court every day, and I'm the only one who does that. There's a lot of public defender skills that I think can be seen in the best judges that we have in our community. I can speak about legal issues in simple terms so people understand what's happening. When people are upset or disruptive, I know how to de-escalate the situation and help everyone to calm down. Public defenders and judges share a really important responsibility to protecting people's rights. I'm calm under pressure. It's pretty hard to get me riled up. Bottom line, I'm the only candidate who represents indigent members of our community in the trenches every single day. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, candidate Chopra.
I think I kind of answered this question in my opening. I do believe I answered this question in my opening. I didn't get everything I wanted to say in there, but you can always go to my website to see what my resume tells you. There's a lot more to it than 2 minutes. I'm nearly 40, so I've done a lot in my life. Let's see. I wanted to quickly address a couple of points that my fellow candidates have brought up. First up is Emily's comment about Judge Tempore. Let me explain something. I cannot be a judge tempore. I've been a prosecutor since I've been an attorney. I cannot do that because there would be too many conflicts. Same with April and the same with Karen. It just would not be feasible. So that's a unique experience.
Let's make sure we're responding to the question and not to the other candidates. Just wanted to make sure of that. You can't respond to the other candidates.
Okay.
You have to respond only to
I'll
me.
just go ahead and explain the issue of what pro tempore is and that type of thing.
As long as it's responding to the question, why are you running for the position, and not attacking the fellow
No,
candidate.
absolutely not. I just think a
Okay.
little edification would be helpful for everyone. But I can talk to you offline if you have questions about that. I went door to door a couple days ago. Can I reserve my time for that? Thank you. I went door to door a couple days ago, and I met a guy, man in a neighborhood, and he said to me, "What's the difference between a prosecutor as a judge and a defense attorney as a judge?" And I said, "Well, that's an interesting question." And I said, "Should be nothing. There should be no difference between someone who's represented the state, a defendant who's been a civil litigator. As a prosecutor, I advocate for the state right now. But when I become judge, I will basically be neutered. We're not even allowed to attend political events like a Democratic forum when you're a judge." So, thank you.
Before we move on to our next question and pass it over to Moderator Sims, I want us to be mindful of we do not address anything towards one another as within the frame, and then also we want to avoid any type of personal attacks or cleaning anything up. Just focus on the question because we're all Dems. All right, Moderator Sims.
Thank you. With this next question, we'll start with candidate Wilson. And the question is, what, if anything, do you see as issues with the Monroe County Jail? And what is your vision for correcting those issues?
I think if we want to be better than we were the day before, then we need to be open to information that helps us understand how to move forward. The Monroe County Criminal Justice and Incarceration, it is actually on, I think I'm just soft-spoken. The Monroe County Criminal Justice and Incarceration Study specifically looked at the Monroe County Jail. And what it found in its conclusions was that the jail is beyond its life cycle, that the jail is not structurally designed for spaces for additional healthcare services, that it's not structurally designed for spaces for programming for those individuals who are trying to reenter into society, and that it has a lack of space when you're trying to address safety and security issues, when there might be a specialized need. Now, as a prosecutor who makes decisions every single day and addresses individual cases, I can tell you when we have lack of options, we also lose avenues of resolution that is individualized and specific to each individual case and need. And as a judge, I would be working with the jail regularly to hear from them what those individual service gaps are, to understand what the situation is in the jail so I make practical decisions that fit those individual needs. And I would also volunteer to assist with the Justice Committee, which is evaluating that report and seeing how we can implement and better serve every member of our community. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. Candidate Renbeck, do you remember, or do I have to repeat it? Oh,
Thank you. Like the
Thank
bird.
you.
Thanks. I've visited my clients in jail for the last 8 years, so I'm pretty confident I've spent more time in the jail than any other candidate, except perhaps some of them running for sheriff. I've seen it all. I've seen the cell blocks, the attorney meeting rooms, the law library, the kitchens, the gym. I could go on and on. The criminal justice study that was done in 2020, there's a quote from it that's really resonated with me, and I'd like to share it. It says, "The jail facility is failing and cannot ensure consistent and sustainable provision of constitutional rights of incarcerated persons." I could talk about the study for hours. I'll spare you all. It's pretty long. It's 254 pages, but I do think it is required reading for anyone who cares about our court system. The study's conclusions, as April already kind of briefly went through, are pretty unsurprising if you've ever been in the jail. The conditions up there are poor, the design is not great, and the jail is always at or above capacity. I'm not satisfied with our jail, and I think all judges should know exactly what the conditions are like up there. There's lots of services that are meant to help people avoid future involvement in our court system, things like GED classes, job training, employment. We don't offer that in our jail. The final decision about what to do with the jail, though, isn't up to the judges. It's up to the commissioners and to the council because they're in charge of buildings and budget. However, when I'm judge, I would demand to be part of that conversation because I want to make sure that everyone who has an opinion on this is heard, everyone in our court system. Thank you.
thank you for your answer. Candidate Chopra, would you prefer that I reread the question? Or do you? Thank you.
That we can all agree that overcrowding at the jail is the main concern. We clearly need a new jail. As much as I hate to spend money, seeing money being spent on incarceration. It just needs to happen because it's a fact of life and it's not going away anytime soon. I will work with the county officials, the commissioners, as part of the Board of Judges to get that done. That's essential. I will say that I'm most concerned about the number of homeless and drug-addicted people in our jail. I want to ensure that any new jail addresses these issues, including reentry plans, addiction therapy, and medication for those sick with addiction, and psychiatric medication for those suffering from mental illnesses. One of the problems with this is that a lot of times people aren't actually in the jail long enough to receive these services, and of course we're not going to keep someone in a jail to receive services. As a judge, if assigned to a criminal docket, I will be a gatekeeper to the jail. It is sometimes very difficult to make the decision on release of a defendant. However, Indiana Criminal Rule 26 is a guide for those decisions. Basically, people are allowed should be released from jail should they not be able to afford bond. Thank you. Look it up. Thanks.
Thank you for your answer. And for the benefit of our audience, I will repeat, not that you need it, but I will repeat the question. And it is, what, if anything, do you see as issues with the Monroe County Jail? And what is your vision for correcting those issues? Candidate Salzman.
My focus in my practice is criminal defense. So many people in the system are aware that there are significant issues with the jail, but I literally see them with my own eyes. I was in the jail just a few days ago to see a client. I have seen a client who contracted pink eye in the jail due to unsanitary conditions, and it swept through their entire block because there wasn't a way to separate or get enough sanitation to actually address the issue. So these concerns are very, very real to me because I see them with my clients. Through my experience in the jail, there are two issues that really jump out is overcrowding, and then it's a dated facility. We do need a new facility. That was conclusively determined by the study. My specific vision for the jail really is a matter of working with many stakeholders. There's cascading effects. If you don't understand our current criminal justice system, you really have to understand that there's cascading effects through so many different places if you make any change to the criminal justice system, from courts, sheriff, county commissioners, county counsel, prosecutor, public defender, probation, and private attorneys, because we don't get a ton of attention, but we have to accommodate everything else that everyone else does as well. The pod structure is an incredibly good idea that would help everyone's experience of the jail, but none of these ideas and great ideas that have been thrown out by different stakeholders are going to work unless we all work together. We need a judge who understands how the system works and has the relationships with local officials to implement it.
Thank you. Candidate Rimbeck, this goes to you. What values are important to have as a judge?
Yes. As in past elections, when I'm deciding who I'm voting for to be judge, I'm looking for 5 pretty specific qualities. First, empathy. Judges have to be able to meet parties where they are. People are often very scared, intimidated, and the legal system can be really uncertain, especially if you've been mistreated by the system before. Second, efficiency. Judges should do their absolute best to keep to the court calendar so that parties and attorneys aren't waiting hours after a hearing is scheduled and still waiting, and it still hasn't happened. Judges should also be promoting using Zoom whenever they can. It's a big accessibility. It's really helped us a lot. It's eliminated a lot of barriers when you can just jump on court from home. Third, patience. Judges need to be even-tempered and not quick to strike out when someone says something that they disagree with. Fourth, fairness. Judges have to hear all the evidence, all the information before them, and not jump to any conclusions. And finally, transparency. Judges have to be willing to have their decisions scrutinized and even appealed, and because the decision to voice opposition to a decision someone makes or to appeal a decision, those are absolute rights, and they must absolutely be respected. Thank you.
Thank you. Question goes to candidate Chopra. What values are important to have as a judge?
I think that we're probably all going to say that judges should be fair, impartial, unbiased, and that's just the bare minimum for a judge. I think that we need to get past that bare minimum and talk about what kind of person is going to do more than just be fair and impartial and treat people with equity. That's the expectation, right? So what I would look for in a judge, if I were voting, of course I'd vote for myself, but I would be looking for someone who is decisive, who has a strength of character to make very hard decisions. I would be looking for someone who is honest, someone who almost to a fault is honest, and who if sees a problem, like an ethical problem, says something and stops everything until that ethical problem is dealt with before a decision is made. Some people know me as someone who will put their foot in the mud because something is not right and something isn't fair and won't move forward until that inequity is dealt with. So again, I would be looking for someone who's bare minimum, fair, impartial. That's an oath that we take as judges, and who also is willing to do the hard work and have a stiff spine to be able to call out injustices when they see them and talk to counsel about that and rectify them before moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Salzman, what values are important to have as a judge?
Thank you. There are 8 values and characteristics of what it means to be a judge in our country. To hear issues fully, to treat litigants with dignity and respect, and to apply the law equally and fairly among all. This is just what it means to be a judge in our country and in our society. But more than that, right now, society lacks civil discourse, and it's reaching all parts of our society, including our courts. Temperament is essential in a courtroom where emotions are high and the stakes are dire for everyone involved. By its nature, our system is adversarial. But the adversarial system does not mean that the people in it shouldn't be treated with dignity and respect and compassion. In many courtrooms where I have stood, whether as a judge pro tempore, an attorney, or an intern, I have always strived to treat everyone with kindness, dignity, and respect. And those are the principles and values that I would take into the courtroom if I continue serving our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Wilson, Again, what values are important to have as a judge?
Compassion, patience, and fair-mindedness. When we talk about finding justice, what we're talking about is not just making a decision, it's making a decision in context. And to understand that context, we need compassion. Compassion allows us to be open to other people's perspectives and to other people's viewpoints and to understand that context. Equally, we need patience. Although being decisive as a judge is foundational, knowing when to be still is equally important. And individuals who've experienced trauma, who might be in the midst of crisis, whether that be familial, financial, mental health, may struggle to tell a story linearly and may express that grief and trauma and fear in different ways. And making sure we are patient to hear every aspect of that case to make an informed decision is a necessary quality for any judge. And once you've gathered all that information, you then have to make a decision that's fair. That comes down to perspective, and that's something you can gain also with experience. And I would make decisions as the next Monroe County Circuit Court judge with compassion, fairness, and patience. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank all the candidates for your answers up to this point. Our next question, and we will start with candidate Chopra. And the question is, how would you handle actual or potential conflicts of interest?
This is a great question. It's an easy one. Being a judge is all about being ethical. It's about being someone that you trust to make the right decisions when it comes down to it. And I have been in this position with conflicts of interest in the prosecutor's office. Many people deal with conflicts of interest in any form that they practice legally. If it's even close, if I'm even asking myself, is this a conflict? Psh, done, it's a conflict. It's that easy. If I'm asking myself or getting a second opinion from someone, then it's clear that if there's even that appearance of impropriety, even the appearance, like, well, no, I'm not biased towards this person, or no, I don't have anything, you know, we were friends way back when, and, you know, my husband's best friends, but really I can handle this in a non-biased way. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to even display the appearance of impropriety as a judge. So it's an easy question. I would decline the case. Hopefully one of my wonderful colleagues would pick it up, and I would do the same for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Same question to candidate Salzman. How would you handle actual or potential conflicts of interest?
Thank you. The watchword when it comes to conflict of interest is transparency. Whenever there is a potential or an existing conflict of interest, we need to establish a record and use the mechanisms that already exist within the law and the judicial canons to address it. A recusal is a tool. It is not a red flag or a white flag of defeat for a judge. It means that you cannot make a fair decision, and you have both the awareness and the integrity to state that you must remove yourself from the situation. And so this is a tool that is always available to a judge and should be used as such. The ethical canons guide us, and they do say that even the appearance of impropriety, the mere appearance of impropriety, should be avoided. Because the mere appearance of impropriety erodes people's faith in the system. And even if it is a just result, they will not receive it as well, and they will not trust that the judge did their job as well if there is an appearance of impropriety. And I would have the rules and the canons guide any judge, and they would guide me. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Wilson, same question. How would you handle actual or potential conflicts of interest?
Well, I'd like to take a step back. I think as judicial candidates and as judicial officers, we should be proactive. I think we're called upon by the judicial canon to make sure that our conduct is not affecting that question of impartiality. But of course, that can't eliminate it. So when it does arise, I think it's important to take a minute and take a step and reflect. Sometimes when we see something that might be a conflict of interest, we need to evaluate it. We need to go back and look at the rule to make sure we understand the rule. And it's not just what we remember when we were in law school or what we thought it was, but what the rule actually states. And then once we've evaluated and determined if there is a conflict of interest, even if there isn't, I would join and share with my fellow candidates who say even the appearance of that lack of impartiality would mean that you would have to transfer that case. But I think it takes a careful examination and evaluating and checking the rule before making a final decision. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. And lastly, to answer this question, candidate Renbeck,
Thank you.
how would you handle actual or potential conflicts of interest?
Thank you. This is not new territory for me. As a public defender, this is something we have to do pretty regularly, is look at the rules, look at the case that we're facing, and determine if we need to recuse ourselves and request outside counsel be appointed. The process for judges is very similar. You have to look at the rules, both for attorneys and for judges, look at the case, and if you believe there's a conflict, you have to notify the parties and disqualify yourself. It's fairly straightforward, and it's especially straightforward here in Monroe County because we have what's called a unified court system, which means we have 9 circuit courts. They are all equivalent to each other. Some counties have things like superior courts and city courts that are sort of lower and do different types of cases. So here, if you recuse yourself, any of the other courts is able to handle that case. It doesn't need to be sent out of county, or it doesn't need to go anywhere sort of special. The rules for judges in conflicts are very clear. It says, a judge shall disqualify herself in any proceeding where the judge's impartiality might be questioned. A good example of this would be cases that involve my current or former clients. I can't handle their cases as a judge because I know confidential information about them, and that's not fair. I would be obviously more than happy to recuse myself from any cases involving those clients. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next question first goes to candidate Salzman. What is your judicial philosophy in regards to marginalized communities?
It is innate in a judge that their philosophy for handling everyone is fairness and impartiality, and treating all those that come before them with respect and dignity. But it is important to be aware that implicit bias exists. It exists in our own minds, and it exists in our society. It's critical that awareness that that implicit bias exists allows us to attend to it. And I promise that I would be very aware of those prejudices and implicit biases that exist in our society and that might exist in my own mind. I also promise that I would be sensitive to those issues facing marginalized communities. I'd be sensitive to those, and I have a track record of that because I was actually raised by Hispanic educators. I had teachers from the age of 5 that were all Hispanic American and knew what those issues were that faced those citizens, or non-citizens, as it were. La gente hispanoamericana me educó, no solo en los temas de matemáticas y ciencia, pero en los asuntos reales, con que la gente hispanohablante en este país luchan cada día. For those issues where I am ignorant, I promise to avail myself of every educational opportunity to learn more. I'm sure many people in this room can educate me, and I hope that you do.
Thank you. Candidate Wilson.
As a judge and a prosecutor, we are charged with ensuring the fair and equitable treatment of every individual. And that's the foundation of justice. But for those in our community who have felt unheard, forgotten, excluded, saying that everyone should be treated fairly may feel like an unfulfilled promise. And I think as judges, we need to be aware of that history, and we need to work every single day to earn the trust of our community. And the only way I know how to earn trust is by actions. And for judges, that means we need to consistently make decisions that are fair and impartial or relevant if they're popular. It means we need to be the model of impartiality. That's something we're beginning here as judicial candidates. Frequently, I'm doing door-to-door or filling out answers to questions, and people will ask me my positions on issues. And even if it might be helpful to answer those questions, the greatest respect I can show for this office and for the position I'd like to hold and to earn the trust of my community is to stay steadfast and impartial and to not answer those questions. and that is the way that I'll serve the community as a Monroe County Circuit Court judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Rimbeck.
Sure. As a public defender, I practice client-centered representation. That means that I give my clients the ability and right to make decisions about what happens with their case and how best to achieve whatever outcome they want. And I just provide them with advice and information on their options. And I've found this practice to be particularly impactful to those who are part of marginalized communities because they have often been treated poorly by our system or others and sometimes have not felt respected or heard. It's clear that historically our nation's legal system has disproportionately affected members of marginalized communities, and I'm absolutely concerned about this issue in every court system, and I'd be worried if somebody wasn't concerned about this. As a public defender, it's really common to represent clients who are inherently mistrustful of the system. I've faced a lot of preconceived notions about myself and my work, things that like I'm paid by the case when people plead guilty, or I must have settled for this job because I couldn't find anything else, or I might someday get to be a real attorney. That's a particular favorite. I have to do a lot of work to overcome these preconceived notions, and I show up, put in the work, and my clients get to see that. These preconceived notions for public defenders do overlap a lot with judges. My goal as judge would be for parties to have confidence that I've heard them and that I am dedicated to properly resolving their case for them, however that ends up happening. As judge, it would be my obligation to follow the law and protect everyone's constitutional rights, and I would absolutely vow to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Chopra.
I was concerned about this question, and I hope that I've proven to you this evening that I have a deep reverence for the law and ethics and the judicial canon. I actually spoke to a local judge about answering this question. And what I can say is that I believe in the inherent worth and dignity of all people. I'll say it again, I will treat everyone with fairness and respect and equally. Now, some may think that I'm dodging this question. I certainly am not. I think a lot of folks who watched the confirmation hearing of Judge Brown Jackson thought she was dodging some questions. She wasn't. She explained many times, many questions, that they were political questions and that her ethics, her judicial ethics, refrain her from asking those questions. And so I hope that you can respect that answer because I do believe that it is the most ethical answer that I can give tonight. And I hope you can hear me because my microphone is off, but I bet you can. I'm sorry, Mr. Thomas. I know you really wanted to hear my answer to that question, so I'll find a clip of it and send it to you. Thank you.
From my view, it looked like it was on, but now that you, thank you. I thought it was on, sorry.
Fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all so much for your questions. We have been instructed as moderators that if there's time, then we have a whole nother list of questions. But I think we have time for one more. And we will start this round with candidate Wilson. And if you, for some reason, feel you can't answer, then please explain why, please. But the question is, starting with candidate Wilson, if elected, what will you do to improve the quality of life for Black and brown residents?
I think the approach in this question is similar to the last, and that as a judge, and I can tell you as a prosecutor, I think ensuring the fair and equitable treatment of every single person that I interact with is the foundation of justice. And one of the ways in terms of some of the training that I've had, I can tell you that I've participated in implicit bias training to make sure that when I'm making decisions, that I'm making those decisions fairly and impartially. And I would encourage and be open to any of my judicial staff or those within the Justice Building to also participate in that implicit bias training. And I think it also comes down to, as a judge, to making decisions where I treat each individual that I interact with dignity and respect to make sure they feel heard and welcomed, even when I make decisions that they may disagree with. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Rimbeck, same question. If elected, what will you do to improve the quality of life for Black and brown residents?
This is a particularly tough question for judicial candidates. As you've heard, we're not permitted to make specific promises or even really to have a platform in the same way that the sheriff or a county council member could. Judges don't pass laws, and judges don't control budgets in the way that one might think in order to affect programs that might help people. However, there is something that really matters, and that's judicial buy-in. So the Indiana Supreme Court directed all Indiana counties to start these pretrial release programs, which are discouraging the use of cash bail. If our local judges had wanted to, they could have torpedoed this program by just ignoring the recommendations, not following them, and continuing to use cash bail, even though they've sort of been directed not to. We had judicial buy-in, and ultimately that really mattered to our community in the end. Monroe County has a history of stepping up. We've done this many times over, and we've operated as the pilot county for lots of different programs from the Indiana Supreme Court. In 2007, we were the very first county to join MyCase, which is an online website that anyone can access cases at. It took 13 years for the 92nd county to join, but they're finally in. As judge, I would want to keep pushing for innovation and programs like that so that we can be on the forefront of new, developing technologies and developing programs. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. Candidate Chopra, same question, please. If elected, what will you do to improve the quality of life for Black and brown residents?
Thank you. I can't answer this question because of my judicial code of ethics, and I do believe that any answer would get political. And I do think that all the women up here today answered that question similarly because we all are competent and understand the law, so I appreciate that. So I had one other thing that I wanted to add, but I'm trying to ring through it. Give me 1 second. Nope, that's it. Thank you all.
Thank you for your response. Candidate Salzman, same question. If elected, what will you do to improve the quality of life for Black and brown residents?
I don't want to repeat myself, and I'll echo my fellow candidates that I can't tell you specifically how I would rule depending on who is in front of me. I cannot, and it wouldn't be fair to anyone in this room or anyone who would ever come before me if I did. What I can promise is that I'm a big believer in knowing what you don't know. And I can tell you that there are issues which I never experienced and which I probably never can completely understand. But what I can tell you is that I will make every effort in my power to continue to learn, both from you and from others, to keep trying to understand. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidates. This is our closing statements time. So each candidate, you have 1 minute for a closing statement, and we will start with candidate Wilson. Is that correct? Rimbeck, excuse me. Candidate Rimbeck.
I've answered a lot of questions since announcing my candidacy, but some are asked pretty often. Are you the one with those bright pink signs? Yes. What do you think about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson? Usually my answer is, how much time do you have? I could talk about her forever. In large part, thanks to Judge Brown Jackson, there's been an ongoing conversation in our community about the value of public defenders to society. Being a public defender isn't just a job for me, it's part of my identity. I've been the only person standing between my client and the system, and that's a heavy burden. We need judges who've been in the trenches every day, who have experience working with real people in our community who are struggling. If anyone has questions for me, I'd love to talk with you. My literature's outside. Please reach out. I hope this forum has showed you why I believe that I'm the best and most qualified candidate for judge, and I'm asking for your vote in the primary on May 3rd or at early voting starting tomorrow, if you can believe it. Again, I'm Karen Renbeck. I'm running for judge for seat 7, and I thank you for your attention and your time tonight.
Thank you, candidate Chopra.
Because a judge is not a political position, it seems odd that we're attached to a Democratic Party. But this is not a race about who's most liberal. It's not a race about who has necessarily even the most experience or who's done what. This is a race asking you, who do you trust? Who has been authentic with you? And I can tell you, I know probably about 75%, and that's being conservative, in this room. And I'm pretty sure, as I look you in the eye, I have always been honest with you, even if you didn't like it. I have always been upfront with you. I have always done the right thing, even if you did not think that it was. So when you go to the polls, maybe tomorrow, maybe on May 3rd, I'd appreciate your vote because you know that I am someone who is going to follow the law, be fair and impartial, and diligently do my job for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Salzman.
Thank you very much. As we reach the election on May 3rd and you cast your vote, I hope you will consider this. I am committed to this community where I have lived for 15 years and where I'm raising my children. I'm committed to the legal system in which I have grown and served since 2012. I am committed to work with the Board of Judges to continuously evaluate and improve the administration of justice in this county. I'm committed to hear the facts fully and apply the law fairly in all cases. I'm committed to treating everyone with respect and dignity regardless of their circumstances. I am committed to making fair and timely decisions with an even temperament. Estoy comprometida a ser tu próxima juez. I am committed to be your next circuit court judge. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Candidate Wilson.
Thank you. I want to thank the Monroe County Black Democratic Caucus and the Indiana Latino Democratic Caucus, everyone in attendance, and my fellow candidates. As we start early voting tomorrow, I just wanted to share a few of the ways in which I'm different from my colleagues. I have more legal experience than any other candidate in my race. And as a deputy prosecutor, where most cases are resolved by negotiated plea agreement, I have the most experience being a decider. And although all of us at this table work in the trenches, I have lived in them. And those experiences have been formative. And from my professional and lived experiences, I will bring compassion, patience, and make fair and just decisions. I thank you for your time tonight, and I ask for your vote on May 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We can go ahead and give a round of applause to our candidates.
Okay, our next group of candidates is for the office of sheriff. And we were going to start with candidate Marte for your 2-minute introduction, opening statement. Please proceed.
Un placer estar con ustedes esta noche. Mi nombre es Rubén Marte. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. My name is Rubén Marte, and I am running for sheriff. At the current time, I am a captain with the Indiana State Police. I've been there for about 31 years to be exact. And in that capacity, I have administered a tremendous amount of different details. However, I'm just going to mention a few because of the essence of time. But I was responsible for the special investigation that encompasses 92 counties, which was dealing with vehicle theft, cyber crime, crimes against children, and intelligence. So every time we dealt with certain things that other agencies couldn't actually handle, it came across my desk, and we did that for the 92 counties. I'm also proud to be the first equity and inclusion officer for the Indiana State Police, which, again, that encompasses the entire state as well. As administrator, I was very privileged to attend the FBI National Academy. What that means is that you get another level of administrative experience because all you do there is to teach you how to lead other people in the sense of a certain level, which the FBI National Academy is in Quantico, and you have to be there for 3 months, and they bring other chiefs of police from the nation, other countries as well, to train us together. So that being said, I have a tremendous amount of experience in the administrative side. Now, also proud to put together some programs for the community and also for the police as an instructor. So I am the candidate that have the tremendous amount of experience, I'll say that. And if I'm fortunate to be your next Monroe County Sheriff, I'll bring that to the table.
Thank you, candidate Marte. Before we go to the next candidate, in another life, I used to do a radio program. So I think for everyone to hear you, one of the tricks that I used to use is use this little deal and speak directly into the mic. If you're
Makes
that
sense.
close, I think you'll do fine.
Will do.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to candidate Purdy. Your opening statement, please.
We have learned The criminal justice system disproportionately arrests and imprisons Black and brown people, as well as other minority and marginal populations. I have learned of law enforcement's history in the abuse of Black and brown people. It's time for us to change. I am poised to lead that change. Who am I? I am Angie Purdy, and I have lived in Monroe County for 54 years. I went to Steinsville Elementary, went to Edgewood High School, graduated, was a member of the Marching Mustangs. I received my Bachelor of Science in Public Affairs with a concentration in criminal justice from our Indiana University. Why me? I am in my 9th year as the administrator for Monroe County government, serving under the Board of Commissioners. I manage multiple levels of personnel, budgets, policies, procedures, and interdepartmental communications for all offices. I actually oversee all county buildings. I have 9 direct staff members, and I serve as the higher authority for 5 other departments that fall under the purview of the Board of Commissioners, kind of like the vice principal. I bring 15 years of experience as a probation officer, meeting people where they are, recognizing that success is different for each person, and helping to break that cycle of recidivism. I have 25 years total in Monroe County government. I know how to run big business. County government is big business. Sheriff's office is big business. I know law enforcement and the criminal justice system and our legislature inflicts harm on our Black and brown community members. I will be a vocal advocate against harm and for change. I'm Angie Purdy, and I'm running for sheriff.
Thank you for your response. Candidate Stalkup.
Hello, and thank you to both caucuses for hosting and organizing this event tonight. As you already know, my name is Joni Stalkup. I'm a mom, a wife, a grandmother, and a lifelong citizen of Monroe County. I am the current elected coroner for Monroe County as well, and I am seeking the office of sheriff. I was an EMT for 22 years, worked as a 911 dispatcher, a deputy coroner since 2005, and currently work for Centerstone, our behavioral community health center, in addition to working full-time as coroner. Last year, I was appointed to the Indiana State Coroner's Training Board by Governor Holcomb. Over the past 5 years as your elected coroner, I have watched as the number of drug overdose-related deaths have climbed. In Monroe County, that number doubled from 2019 to 2020, and in 2021, we had 54 overdose-related deaths. That's 54 deaths that could have potentially been avoided. Along with overdose deaths, suicides have increased slightly as well. As sheriff, I feel it would put me in a position to make a difference in those numbers in a positive way by getting individuals with mental health issues and substance dependency that are in our direct care resources to help them address their situations. The sheriff's responsibility is the jail, its staff, the people housed in the jail, the deputies, and the administrative staff. As sheriff, you have the ability to make the changes that will directly impact the safety and well-being of all of these individuals in a positive way while promoting a well-balanced work environment. Compassion, transparency, accountability, upholding individual civil rights, equality, non-biased, and impartiality are all values and traits a sheriff should promote and follow. I run my current office with these values, and I would do the same as your Monroe County Sheriff.
Thank you for your response. Candidate Thomas, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. I used this excuse last time, and that was my throat was going out on me. Well, my voice is still cracking, so if it cracks, I apologize. My name is Troy Thomas. I was born and raised here in Bloomington, Indiana, and I'm a proud son of Dorothy and Cleveland Thomas. When I was 14 years old, I had a vision that I wanted to become a Monroe County deputy. I joined what was called the Monroe County Sheriff Explorers Post. It was for children that were interested in law enforcement. At the age of 18, I was hired in the Monroe County Jail under Sheriff Randy Williamson. I still had that vision. I wanted to be that policeman. I was that kid that grew up from West 7th Street, the Banneker Community Center, formerly known as the West Side Community Center. That was me as that kid. I knew I wanted to be a policeman, but I had some struggles. When I started here and applied for the road division, there was nobody that looked like me, not one soul. I was that 20-year-old kid that put my application in, and I got it. I got that job, becoming your first black person of color Monroe County Sheriff Deputy. It chokes me up to talk about it because I never thought I would be that person that would be in the history books of Monroe County. But I'm asking even further now to be in the history book as your Monroe County Sheriff, to also be the first black sheriff of Monroe County. I've held many positions throughout the Sheriff's Department. I've worked for 4 different sheriffs, and those sheriffs have all put me in command staff position. I look forward to being the next Monroe County Sheriff here. And before Nicole gives me that sign that she had a discussion with me about earlier, I'm going to go ahead and stop. But thank you.
Thank you all very much for your opening statements. Since candidate Marte started the opening statement, we will start with candidate Purdy on the next question. Now, I have a preface to the question. I would be happy to read it again if you want, and then this will be followed by the question. On April 17th, 2021, the Monroe County Sheriff's Department was involved in the fatal pursuit of Bloomington resident Malik Ali Malik, a black man. Despite efforts made by the local media who first requested body cam videos in April, local media did not receive access to redacted videos until months later at a fee of $75 per video and at a total cost of $2,475 for the 33 videos available. The question, starting with candidate Purdy, is as follows. If you are elected to be the next sheriff, how would your administration handle a pursuit situation and subsequent media requests?
Thank you. First of all, I will say that Monroe County government did not handle the Malik case in the manner that we should have. We learned a lot as a result of that case. Excuse me. First of all, regarding pursuit, law enforcement officers all around the country are having to look at pursuit and whether or not it's worth the risk that we have for our community members. Sorry. Okay. Pursuit is a Pursuit is a high-risk activity with an unknown reward. There are far too many innocent people who are killed or injured as a result of pursuit. So officers have to ask the question as to whether or not it's worth their time. Not their time, but is it worth the time to the community, the injuries to the community? Each potential pursuit situation has to be evaluated on the totality of the information at hand. I will, however, say that law enforcement, although they have the authority to respond, they do not have to respond. Going back to the public access, you're supposed to have a response within 24 hours or 7 days, depending on if you got to the first person who could answer that question. And then the department has a reasonable length of time to get the documents to you. Also, there's actually state statute that says law enforcement recording may not exceed $150 per unit. There was 33 units. Thank you. That's a hard one.
Thank you for your response. Candidate Stalkup, same question. If you are elected to be the next sheriff, how would your administration handle a pursuit situation and subsequent media requests?
Thank you. Any loss in our community is tragic. My office was directly involved with this particular situation, but not in the Sheriff's Department aspect. In reference to pursuits, I believe most professionals in law enforcement that we should be pursuing individuals only when risk of safety to the community is present. If we do not respond, the chaos, destruction, and the loss that could be rendered at the hands of a speeding driver is untold. In sane respect, a pursuit should be called off and stopped immediately if the potential harm for pedestrians is created by the pursuit itself. If the person that is being pursued is known to be a danger to the community and a wanted person for a violent, serious offense, I would want that person in custody as well, but not at the expense of losing a life. Requests for body cam footage sometimes takes an excessive amount of time based on the software and storage being used by the body cam manufacturer and the department implementing those cameras. As I understand it, each hour of footage that requires processing for release to the public or media requires 2 hours of processing by employees. That means there is 2 hours of cost to the department to provide footage, multiple involvement in officers, multiple cameras being used, multiple hours going into it. Each department must pay yearly, my apologies. I'll stop because it's my time up. I have more on that, but it's my time up.
Thank you. Moving on to candidate Thomas, same question, please. If you are elected to be the next sheriff, how would your administration handle a pursuit situation and subsequent media request?
So going into this question when I got it, I debated on how we were going to respond to this because I'll address the elephant in the room. It's my case. It's my pursuit that we initiated. As a supervisor, I did cancel the pursuit. I told the units, terminate the pursuit. It's not worth someone getting hurt. And if anybody in this room for 1 minute thinks that the end result does not affect me or anybody else, even though I feel that I made the decision necessary, it hurts. I told my bosses about it later on because it hurts. We lost a life. Moving on, we just had a pursuit last week at our agency. I canceled it immediately. I agree. Is the safety of that individual or others worth it? I don't think it is. I need to answer this other question before we move into my time. I did some investigation about the fees as if I was already the sheriff. I went and asked. And as Joni had mentioned, there is a fee to it. And we now have something in place to avoid the amount that we charge for the family in this case. We have a new mechanism in place. Thank you, and sorry to the Malik family.
Thank you for your response. Same question, candidate Marte. If you are elected to be the next sheriff, how would your administration handle a pursuit situation and subsequent media requests?
The way we handle pursuits, we pretty much train each year, follow the department policy, and if there's an error that's made, we go back and correct it. So we put the actual emphasis, is the pursuit worth someone's life? You know, that's the main thing, that main question. However, as far as the cost for releasing media, you know, through my administration, when I dealt with through the specialties that I mentioned, when they asked for actual footage, we never charged. The only time we would consider charging would be if it was a lot of man-hour that we had people had to work overtime, or if the material was so large that we really had to. But in the years that I've been administrator and different commands, we never charged at all. In fact, the administrative assistant made it a point just to make sure that everybody wanted the same sheet of music when it came to that, because we also had to involve the prosecutor's office as well.
Thank you all for your responses.
Thank you.
Moderator Reese.
Thank you. This question goes to candidate Stokup. In the past, the Monroe County Sheriff's Department has collaborated with ICE by sharing information on people in detention or arrested with ICE in detaining them in ICE holds. Even though this practice is unconstitutional, a violation of the Fourth Amendment, the question is, what is your position on this practice?
Pose a very troubling issue to all of law enforcement agencies. The direction from our federal government has changed multiple times since 2014 when the issue reached purview of the public eye. As Sheriff of Monroe County, I will be sworn to uphold and protect the Constitution of the United States of America. With that comes the Fourth Amendment. As it currently stands, courts across the United States have ruled ICE detainers may violate that Fourth Amendment, and that officers may be held liable for the detainment of individuals under ICE detainer requests. This is a risk I'm not prepared to make my officers undertake. Qualified immunity is not an absolute in law enforcement. It will not protect an officer who has been made aware of that their actions may be unconstitutional prior to their actions. The first basic rule of good law enforcement taught to every police officer is discretion. Good decisions are the standard of every officer. Local law enforcement is the only entity liable under these detainers, not the Department of Homeland Security, who oversees ICE. ICE detainers are voluntary, not mandatory. It's too much liability for officers of Monroe County Sheriff's Department and not in line with the good job and responsibilities of our Monroe County Sheriff's Department for these ICE detainers.
Thank you. Candidate Thomas.
Unfortunately, the law does require us to notify ICE in certain violations. Sheriff Swain currently notifies ICE only if the crime is serious. Murder, charges against children, rape, etc. I still want to continue that same practice as sheriff. I don't feel it's necessary in notifying them of lesser crimes, but in these cases, I feel that I have a duty as the sheriff to protect the citizens of Monroe County and to notify them of those type of crimes and cases that occur. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Marte.
So let me start by saying that under my administration, we're not going to be calling ICE just because the person is Latino. We don't do that if the person is from France, from Germany, so why are we doing it because the person is from a Spanish-speaking country? Now, that being said, I have taken an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States and for the state of Indiana, and I will continue to do so. But just because someone last name or someone comes from a Spanish-speaking country, we're just not going to go ahead and pick up the phone and call. Not under my administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Purdie.
Thank you. I, as your sheriff, would not engage with ICE. It is not, the detainer is not something that is recognized as a judicial document, and we would just not be, contacting them regarding anyone who's in our care or custody. That we have an obligation to take care of our community members, and these are our community members, so thank you.
Thank you all for your responses. Moving to the next question, and the first responder will be Candidate Thomas. And the question is, what, if anything, do you see as issues with the Monroe County Jail? What is your vision for correcting those issues?
Thank you. We need a new jail. That goes without saying. A new jail that's designed with the future of incarceration in mind. Space for diversion. Programs for counseling. I want to be able to induce a social worker to the group upon release of an inmate. A lot of our inmates are repeat offenders. They get out, they come back. I want to be that guy, that sheriff, that comes and interviews our inmates once they're about to be released, as well as a social worker prior to them being released, and go over different outcomes. How can we change and keep you from coming back like you came back last time? What do we need to help you? What can we provide? Give them job applications. Put them in a successful environment instead of just releasing them and say, you're on your own. We know that doesn't work. They continue to come back. We want to change that. And with that, that would also change the overcrowding that we have within our facility now. Our jail only holds 280 people. And there's been many times in the past where we have well went over that. And we can't afford any other lawsuits that we've had in the past. And quite frankly, our inmates and our staff deserve better than the establishment that we have now. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's okay. Thank you for your response. Moving on to candidate Marte, same question. What, if anything, do you see as issues with the Monroe County Jail? And what is your vision for correcting those issues?
When I took a tour of the jail, that jail, it's just outlived its resources. We need a new jail. That's just the bottom line. We can't provide programs inside the jail because the jail is so old. So in order to reduce the percentage, when I say we need a new jail, people sometimes look at me like, really? But we do, because not to keep more people inside the system, is to actually have more programs inside and outside to provide those services. But we can't do it with the present jail right now. So many different things could be done. And when I travel the state of Indiana and I visit other jails, I tell you, right now, I know for a fact we could do a whole lot better. Because, you know, to be humane, we have to do better right now for the people inside that system. Because we have people in there that, God's sakes, it's just not suited for human beings to be treated that way, no matter what the circumstances that put them inside that system. So do we need a new jail? Absolutely.
Thank you for your response. Candidate Purdy, same question. What, if anything, do you see as issues with the Monroe County Jail? And what is your vision for correcting those issues?
Thank you. It's been clearly stated numerous times by this group and the judges before us that this jail is at its beyond end of life. It has been used in excess from the minute it was built. These buildings should not be filled more than 80% of their capacity. We have filled this jail far beyond that capacity. To give you an example, a 300-bed facility, the maximum number of beds that should be used would be 240. If you get to 240, you have to have contingencies in place with your Board of Judges, the Board of Commissioners, and the County Council, because there's going to be a future reference that has to be taken care of. We are unable to consistently provide constitutional levels of care to the inmates. We do not have a facility that will allow us to do programming. We cannot provide treatment programs, and as it's been stated, we do not provide the respect and dignity that is necessary for our occupants. My vision is we have alternatives to booking into jail for law enforcement. I would like to see a co-located mental health treatment facility, supportive services nearby, community connections, and collaboration. We have to have a facility that provides for the respect and dignity of all of our occupants, a facility that can be shown to reduce recidivism. Thank you.
Thank you. And to complete this section, candidate Stalkup, and the same question. What, if anything, do you see as issues with the Monroe County Jail? And what is your vision for correcting those issues?
As already previously stated by so many people, we do need a new jail. The Monroe County Jail, like jails across the state, has been inundated with drug offenders and low-level crime offenses due to the opioid epidemic. This affects people of all ages, all races, and all genders. Substance dependency and mental health conditions do not discriminate, and they affect almost every family in the United States. As sheriff, I will put focus back on addressing proper staffing levels at the jail, as well as make sure that our current jail staff is well supported in their careers. A better trained and staffed workforce will improve conditions. Many of the issues that arise in a correctional facility stem from the top down. I am here to tell you, as your sheriff from Monroe County, I will lead by example. I will hear the complaints and challenges brought forth by the community and work to make our jail a leading example. Having correction officers with a diverse background as well as being multilingual, working with those being housed is necessary so that those barriers are broken and communication is open. The need for a new correctional facility will help address the issues we currently have. Working with the commissioners and council to set this process in motion is one of my priorities as sheriff. Adequate housing of the inmates creates a safer and healthier environment, not just for those being housed, but for the correctional officers working there, as well as the community. The safety of all of the community is of utmost importance.
Thank you. This final question, well, it could be. We might have some time, but additional question goes first to candidate Marte. Do you believe that Black Lives Matter?
Yes, Black Lives Matter. I could tell you, as growing up in the South Bronx as a African Latino and remember how I was treated by the police, yes. You know, believe it or not, back then I had hair. I had an afro. I'm a little sensitive about that, but I had hair. And I looked older than when I really was, and the police would stop me, you know, and I had no, and it made it worse where English was my second language. So as I'm scared, I can't respond fast enough because I'm thinking everything in Spanish and I'm trying to get the words out in English. And, you know, they treated me with gun being pointed just because I was responding fast enough. So does Black Lives Matter? Oh, yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I've been put in a position now as a captain with the Indiana State Police is to be able to go and train tens of thousands of officers, and that very reason for why is it that people of color are afraid of the police. And simultaneously, when I go out and talk to the community and try to teach the community, how do you hold officers accountable? Why is it that we do things a certain way? Because now I can speak the lingo and I understand how the system works. As an administrator, it's my responsibility to make sure that we hold people accountable because Black Lives Matter.
Thank you. Candidate Purdy, do you believe that Black Lives Matter?
We do. After George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Rayshard Brooks, I struggled with the hatred that I was hearing and seeing for law enforcement officers. And I say that because my son is a law enforcement officer. It was very difficult. I did not know how to align these two very diverse and opposite positions. So I began educating myself. I participated in DEI training, and I learned as a result of that a lot. I have learned that I can love and support my law enforcement son, and I can stand for and support Black lives. We, speaking as the collective white, have acted since the 1800s through Black Code, Jim Crow laws, that Black lives somehow were less important and that white lives were better and higher in the hierarchical chain. We have to stop that history. We have to stand up against the bigotry. Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Stokup, do you believe that Black Lives Matter?
The answer without question is yes. I do believe Black Lives Matter. As we as a state and a nation move towards being a more diverse population, it is important to me that everyone understands their own value in our society. We have made tremendous progress in the last century, but as we look around at the violence and the resulting rhetoric thrown around, we have a long way to go. We have become far too polarizing with our arguments and need to return to a discussion about solutions, not positions, creation, not destruction, and equality, not disparity. A man by the name of Carter Temple Jr. was possibly the very first Black officer in Indiana back in 1876. Black people were blazing trails way back then when a Kentucky slave became Indianapolis Police Department's first sworn Black officer. We can continue that here in Monroe County. Research shows that communities who practice community policing by making sure their police departments resemble their communities they are policing, practicing diversity, are better run and prove a better servant organization to their community. We cannot rewrite or undo history. However, we can learn and make changes to make a better future.
Thank you. Candidate Thomas, do you believe that Black Lives Matter?
My dad and mom grew up in Mississippi and Memphis, Tennessee in the 30s. Do I believe Black Lives Matter? Yes, I do. I 100% believe it. And a lot of people get twisted because they believe it's a political stance or it's a issue of whatever. The truth is, it's a movement. And if we didn't have that movement, where would we be today? It's a movement that we all need. It's a movement that's going to help people of color or people that look like me to get back to trusting the police. We need Black Lives Matter. It took a while for me to wrap it around my head, but speaking to others, because me as a policeman, 90% of the time I'm in a uniform. So I understand I have a part of me that's probably sheltered more than a normal person of color. I understand that. But I know we need the movement such as Black Lives Matter. So to answer your question, yes, I agree with Black Lives Matter and I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your responses.
All right. Thank you all. This has been a thoroughly engaging and informative candidate forum this evening. Thank you all, not only this segment, but all the previous segments. To complete this forum, you all will have 1 minute for a closing statement. We will start with candidate Purdy.
Thank you all for having us here and allowing us to speak and share our visions with you. We have learned a lot, and yet so little. We, and I'm speaking now in the law enforcement frame, have to face the truth of our history before we can truly move on. We have to understand our role in that history and how we have to make paradigm changes in our lives. As I said before, Maya Angelou, do the best you can until you know better. When you know better, do better. It's time to do better. I'm Angie Purdy. I'm running for sheriff, and I would appreciate your vote on May 3rd or tomorrow if you elect to vote early. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Stalkup.
I want to once again thank the INLDC District 9 and the Monroe County Black Democratic Caucus for this opportunity to let the community hear the candidates' goals and answer questions so that they can make an informed decision when it comes time to vote. I chose to run for this office because I feel it's time. It's time to address the mental health and substance use crisis in this county, one that has been plaguing the entire nation. Substance dependency and mental health conditions do not discriminate and directly affect most families. We need to break down the stigma that all uniformed officers are bad. They're not. I want to be a part of that change. I want to help break that stigma. I want to return to community policing. I want to be your next sheriff. I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. Candidate Thomas.
I was that 14-year-old kid that grew up on West 7th Street in Bloomington. I want to be your next sheriff. I've been here at the sheriff's department. I've worked in the jail. I've worked on the road. I've held every position within the agency outside of the sheriff. I want to be able to take the bad that I've seen or the good that I've seen from the other sheriffs and take that and get rid of the bad. I want to be able to bring the citizens of Monroe County back, especially our people of color, to where they trust police again. My whole goal in life has been that, to make people feel like Nicole's holding a sign in front of my face. 30 seconds. I want to be able to be that officer that kids come up to and say, hey, you're different from every policeman. I want all policemen to be that guy, that they come up to, guy or girl. I appreciate it. On May 3rd, I look forward to your vote. Thank you all, and thank you to the caucuses. I appreciate you, and God bless.
Thank you for your response. And we'll finish up with candidate Marte.
So thank everyone for being here this evening. It's at 8:05, so thank you again for being here. I have 5 platforms that I have, for my administration. If I'm blessed enough to be the next sheriff, I really want to increase public safety. I want to reduce people from returning back to the system by providing programs once we deal with the new jail situation. I definitely want to increase the training for the sheriff department to include everyone, just not the deputies that work the road. We need to train everyone and bring us to a higher standard and keep us at a higher standard and leave the department, if I get the position, at a better position than it is right now. Our job is to make it better for everyone. And I also want to expand and have a robust outreach program. Without the community, it won't work. We have to be able to talk to each other because, we have something in common. We both want to leave a traffic stop alive, and we have to work together with that, okay? So my name is Ruben Marte. I'm running for sheriff, and I will appreciate your vote either tomorrow or May 3rd.
Thank you. Thank you, give a round of applause. And thank you to the people that's online. Thank you for being here with us.
I do believe we'll have final comments from, all right, Clerk Bowden.
Candidates, if you could stay up there for just a quick picture at the end. I want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. We are here again tomorrow night at 6 p.m. to hear from our commissioner candidates, our 9th District congressional candidates, and our Indiana House 46. I'm 62. You know what? I'm just making up numbers at this point. Anybody who knows me, I go to bed right now, so it's late. But thank you all for coming. We will see you all tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.